Myself, Jian, and I present against rural future innovators. Today, we step into chapter 3, The Stone Chronicles, where every stone is a storyteller. The stones hold secrets, discover mysteries, and carry the weight of empire. So hold on tight, because the past is about to come and alive before your eyes. As the voices faded, the land began to stand still. I walked forward, and suddenly history no longer spoke through language or song. North India revealed itself not as a place that forgets, but as one that remembers carefully. Across the plains of Punjab and Haryana, the earth carried the earliest footprints of civilization. The remains of Harappa lay quiet yet powerful. Straight roads, planned homes, and drainage systems that spoke of minds far ahead of their time. These were not ruins of chaos, but proofs that order and intelligence once shaped everyday life here. Moving onward, I felt the presence of empires that ruled not only with power, but with ideas. Ashoka's pillars stood tall across the north, carved with messages of peace, tolerance, and responsibility. Stone became a teacher here, reminding that rulers and citizens alike that strength without compassion does not last. The walls of time grew richer in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, where temples, stupas, and caves were shaped with patience. These carvings told stories of gods, warriors, dancers, and thinkers. Each figure was a closed with movement, as if the stone itself was breathing. It felt as though centuries were watching silently, waiting to be understood. Then came the age of grand architecture. In Delhi, forts rose like guardians of memory. Qutub Minar, Humayun's tomb, and Red Fort standing firm against time. Every arch, every courtyard held echoes of debate, conflict, and celebration. The stone had been king, tried, and fought, yet they remained. In Agra, the story softened. The Taj Mahal stood in calm white silence, reflecting the sky and the river beside it. It was not loud nor proud. It was emotional. Love, loss, and devotion rested in marble, proving that even strongest emotions can be shaped into beauty. Further north, in Rajasthan, forts like Amar, Nahrangarh, and Jaisalmer climbed hills and deserts, blending defense with art. Their walls glowed under the sunlight, decorated with mirrorworks, paintings, and carved balconies. Here, stone did not just protect; it expressed pride and creativity. Even spirituality took form. In Varanasi, gods stepped gently into Ganga, once moved by billions of feet and countless prayers. These were in Bodh Gaya and Satna. Simplicity spoke louder than decoration, proving that world enlightenment needs no crown. I then realized that North India writes its history differently. It does not erase the past. It pulls over it, around it, and through it. Every monument was a face, every carving a sentence, every ruin a reminder. But stone alone cannot shape a nation. Because beyond these walls and pillars, another force was rising. One that burned brighter than empire and stronger than fortresses. The fire of resistance, the fire of freedom. But stones had seen empires, faith, and time itself. Yet history does not stop at monuments.